Hello, my name is Kevin, and I want to welcome you to the Pettigrew Home and Museum. During our current health crisis, the Pettigrew Home and Museum is currently closed to the public. But today we wanted to walk you through and give you a virtual tour of what you might be missing. And we hope that you'll come back and visit us when we're again open to the public. Let's get started. Let's start with this historic photograph of the home. The home was built in 1889 and was not for the Pettigrew family, but rather for the McMartins, Thomas and Jenny. They were newlyweds. Thomas was a lawyer here in Sioux Falls. They lived in the home for about 20 years. In 1911, Senator Pettigrew purchased the home for he and his wife. He paid $12,000 for the home and lived here until his death in 1926. Now, the home was designed by Wallace Dow, a local Sioux Falls architect, and he designed it in the Queen Anne style. And you can see that through his use of the different building materials, the pressed brick, the Sioux quartzite. It has an asymmetrical floor plan. It has a very large dominant front porch and the witch's cap on the tower. Now, originally on the back of the house, there was a full porch. In 1923, the senator removed that porch and he built the gallery that I'm standing in right now. He built this to house the many objects he had acquired on his travels here in the United States and abroad. He was an amateur archaeologist and collector, and he opens the first public museum here on the back of his home in 1925. When he died in 1926, he left his museum and his home to the city of Sioux Falls to be maintained as a free public museum. Now, in the 1930s, the city put on a further addition, everything past our archway in what is currently our gallery addition, and they added that in 1933, 1934. So there's really three phases of construction here: the main house itself, the Senator's Gallery, and the city's gallery. Today we're going to enter through the back of the house, and we're going to take a look at the home itself, taking a look at what it may have looked like when Senator Pettigrew and his wife lived here. Let's head on in. Well, we've entered through the back door, and we're now in the kitchen. Like anyone who buys a new house, the senator wanted a very modern home and a very modern kitchen. So this is an up-to-date kitchen, if you will, from the teens and early 20s. We recently found evidence that there was a major fire here in the house in 1916 in the basement right below the kitchen that almost completely gutted this room. So it's had a few different updates done to it. One of the things you'll notice is that it has linoleum in it. Linoleum was a brand new product. It was being advertised as very clean and sanitary for your home. Also, as we move through the house today, you're going to notice a lot of different kinds of lighting. And in this area of the home, we have some combination lighting. It's electric lights on the bottom and gas jets on the top. The gas was made at the coal gasification plant downtown and then piped into homes throughout the district here. Pretty safe in the homes, however, the coal gasification plant downtown did blow up in its history. Also, they did have a maid that worked here for them the entire time that they lived here, so this really was her domain, doing most of the work here in the kitchen, including doing the dishes. And originally there was a sink that was located just below the window here. Something I think we'd all enjoy in our homes today is a very large pantry, and the Pettigrew certainly has one. So let's step into the pantry. There are really two sides to the pantry. The first side is more of a side of the pantry where raw foodstuffs were kept here in the home. For refrigeration, the Pettigrews were using an ice box. Now, ice was delivered here to the home. In your ice box, you would load your large chunk of ice into the top of the ice box. As the ice would melt, the cold water would move down through. It would cool everything inside of the ice box, and then there was a reservoir to catch that water. As I mentioned, there was regular ice delivery here to the homes, and you would have had an ice card. An ice card was something that you put into the window on ice delivery day. Whatever number you put up on top, that's how many pounds of ice you wanted the iceman to bring in. So it saved him some time. Now, a lot of foods were coming in by rail. We had 5 railroad connections to the east. The senator was responsible for bringing all 5 railroads here to the Sioux Falls area. So a lot of things are coming in by rail, but a lot of things were produced locally as well. Now let's step to the other side of the pantry. The other side of the pantry is where prepared food is made ready to go into the dining room. This is also where many of the serving dishes were kept. Throughout the Pettigrew home, we do have a number of pieces that actually belong to the Pettigrew family, And we have pieces that are of the time period but may not have actually spent time here in the house. One of the interesting innovations in the home at that time were small electrical appliances, like our toaster here, which is called El Toasto. You would set your piece of bread on the ledge there, it would toast one side, and you'd have to manually flip it over to toast the other side of your bread. Let's step back out of the pantry. There was also phone service here in the home as well. Not only one phone, but two phones. Now, to work the phone at that time, we would lift the receiver, give it the crank, that called the operator downtown. She could then connect you with the party. And the operators, of course, could always listen in too, and they always knew what was going on in Sioux Falls. Now, this is a place of work here in the home. So we have plain painted walls. We have plain fir woodwork in this part of the home. Directly behind me is the delivery door, where ice, groceries, anything of that nature were delivered here to the home. And as we move past, you'll also see the back staircase, which went clear to the attic. The maid had her own bedroom and her own bathroom in the house here. But now what I'd like to do is to step into the family side of the home. Come along. We moved into the family side of the home and we moved into the dining room. When the senator and his wife sat down to a meal, they sat down to a very formal style of eating. And during this time period, it would have been very important that you have great table manners and etiquette, knowing how to use all the knives, forks, spoons, all the different plates and cups would have been very important. There was a call button that was built into the floor. Mrs. Pettigrew could step on that. That rang the buzzer in the kitchen and called the maid in here to the dining room to serve them. Some features of the dining room here that are really quite significant is our leaded glass window that you see there. It has jewels or the colored pieces of glass in it. The leading on that window is actually painted over with a gilded paint. So during the day you get this beautiful color coming through the window, and at night it turns into this beautiful gilded window. Also, our chandelier in this room is brass and it's silver plated. The globes there are hand blown and they are signed LCT, Louis Comfort Tiffany. Mr. Tiffany was actually a personal friend of Senator Pettigrew's. You'll notice the wall covering in this room as well. The wall covering is an anaglypta wallpaper. It's a raised and embossed wallpaper and dates to the time of the Pettigrew family as well. The last thing I want to bring to your attention is the painting that hangs above the fireplace here in this room. This was actually commissioned by the senator and is what Sioux Falls looked like when he first arrived here. He came in the summer of 1869 and he got a summer job as a chainman for a government survey team and came to the community, and he said he never wanted to forget what it looked like, and so this painting was done from his memory. And you will see the falls on the right hand side of the painting and the island that was at the top of the falls. The buildings that are there are part of a military fort that was here in Sioux Falls called Fort Dakota, which operated from 1865 to 1869. The dirt path on the left-hand side of the painting would be about 9th Street today, and the low hills in the background would be today's Cathedral Historic District. The home is a double parlored house, and we're in the back parlor right now. And the back parlor would be a little bit more of the family's parlor, a lot like our living room or TV room is today. You'll see some of the comfortable chairs in here. I especially like the one over by the wall here, which I like to call the lazy boy's great-grandfather. It has a stool that kicks out from underneath it, and the knobs in the back will adjust the back of the chair so that you really could take a nap in that one if you wanted to. In the home here as well, you'll see some of the Asian influence. China and Japan have been open to trade. The senator actually went to China and Japan in 1897. He brought back the 2 orange urns that flank the fireplace here today. The decorative features of the back parlor here, the wall covering in here is a silk damask wall covering. It's a silk material that's stretched on the wall. This is a reproduction of the original silk that was here in the home. There was a major restoration of the home done in the mid-1980s. The original silk was in very, very poor condition and was taken down, but large sections were kept. And in 2000, we had it restored in the original color and the original style. And that's what you're seeing here today. Also, the ceiling is hand-painted canvas on plaster, which is usually very muted here in the home. However, today, for this very special tour that we're doing, we have opened several of the shades here in the home to give you a little bit different look, and it really will make the ceiling pop a little bit more here for us. The ceiling is an addition that the senator made here to the home. We've moved up into the front of the home to the front parlor. Now this would have been the formal parlor in your home where guests would have been entertained. You'll see in this room a couple of features, including the piano. The piano is a Steinway Grand. It dates to the mid-1870s and was originally delivered here to Sioux Falls. Now we know that the senator's first wife was an accomplished pianist. However, after her death in 1916, we believe their original piano was sold at auction. Also here in the home, we do know that the senator and his wife were avid card players, and you see that we have a card game set up here in the front part of the house as well. On the walls of the front parlor are some portraits of some of the founding fathers of our community. Of course, the senator is just to the right of our window here. To the left of the window is Charlie Howard. Mr. Howard had been a riverboat man on the Missouri. He'd worked for the American Fur Company. He came here to Sioux Falls and he opened the Sutler Store, which was a general store here at Fort Dakota, and was a very early merchant here in the community. In the corner with the senator is Nye Phillips. Nye held a lot of civic offices here in the city. He was even for a short time warden of the state penitentiary. All the way around the corner to our right is L.T. Dunning. Mr. Dunning owned the first drugstore here in Sioux Falls, and he also married the senator's sister, Henrietta. And coincidentally, they lived directly across 8th Street from this house. So when you do come and see us, take a look at the home across the street. That was the senator's sister's home. So some very nice events happened in here. The senator's niece was married in the front parlor of the home here. Also, when the senator's wife passed away and he passed away, both of their funerals were held right here in the front parlor of the home. The first room that a visitor would see when they came to the house would be the front foyer. If you'd been a guest to the senator's home, you would have come to the front door, rang the bell, which was built right into the door. Now the door probably would have been answered by the maid. All ladies and gentlemen would have carried your calling card with you, announcing who you were. Now, maybe you came here by early car, horse and buggy, maybe you walked. Not a lot of the streets in Sioux Falls were paved. If you look at our mirror over here, you will see that there was a sink that was built in behind the staircase. And that was for visitors to freshen up a little bit before they were received by the family. There was a comfortable chair out here by the fireplace. In the colder weather, a nice fire in the fireplace, not a bad place at all to wait to be received by the family. Now, as a gentleman, if you were going to be of high fashion at that time, a bowler hat, a top hat, white gloves, and a walking stick were all very popular. The senator had a collection of over 30 walking sticks, and they came in all shapes and sizes. They were popular gifts that gentlemen gave each other at the time. The two busts in the foyer are what the senator referred to as his portraits in marble. The senator is on the right-hand side of the fireplace. On the left-hand side of the fireplace is his brother Fred. His brother Fred followed him out here to Dakota. He's considered to be a founder of the town of Flandreau, located north of Sioux Falls. He was also an amateur archaeologist and a collector. Unfortunately, his brother was killed in an accident in 1901. So when the senator opened his museum edition, he dedicated it to his brother Fred. That dedication can still be read today on a stone tablet inset on the wall in the museum edition. The first floor of your house is really the public area of your home. This is where you're going to find your expensive woodworks and wall coverings, and you can see that in this house. The woodwork in the back parlor and the dining room is all cherry. The front parlor is bird's eye maple. and the foyer is all oak. Now the second floor of your house was really more for the family. Only if you'd been a very, very close friend of the senators would you maybe have been invited to the second floor of the house. Why don't we go check it out? Coming up the stairs to the second floor, we've seen this wall covering down in the foyer as well as in the stairwell, continuing into the second floor, and this is called Lincrusta. Lincrusta is made of wood pulps and resins that are pressed out in the designs that you see here. You'll find both Lincrusta on the ceiling as well as the walls, and each complementing the other. We're going to start with what Senator Pettigrew may have referred to as his favorite room in the home. It's the one room that he specifically talked about in his will. In here you can see that he was a well-read gentleman. He had over 5,000 volumes in his personal library. Also on the wall in this room, you'll see pictures of his mother and father, Andrew and Hannah Pettigrew. The family was originally from Ludlow, Vermont, and his father was a pretty staunch abolitionist, which actually got him into some issues with the neighbors. And so he moved this family out of Vermont and he moved them to southern Wisconsin. And it's from southern Wisconsin that the senator came here to Sioux Falls. The walking stick that his father has in his hand is the same walking stick that you'll see on the table today. Also up on the wall, you'll see a framed newspaper. That newspaper is from the winter of 1880-81. That winter was very severe in the area. It started snowing in mid-October and didn't stop snowing until early April. And it snowed and snowed and snowed. After a while, they could no longer get the trains into Sioux Falls, and by February, March, they were running out of a lot of supplies. One of the supplies that they ran out of was newsprint to print the newspaper. So they went down to the store and they bought bolts of linen shirting material. And they printed the newspaper on linen material. And that is one of the linen newspapers from that winter. Subsequently, when all of that snow melted, they said Dakota was one big lake. And the Big Sioux River here in Sioux Falls did flood, and it did hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage in downtown Sioux Falls. On October 5th, 1926, the senator was playing cards in this room with his wife when he suffered a stroke. His wife called for the maid. They carried him into the next room, which was his bedroom, and they called the ambulance from the second floor. That's how we do know there was another phone here in the home. However, he passed away before the ambulance got here. Popular for the time, the senator and his wife shared separate bedrooms. The front bedroom was the senator's bedroom. The side bedroom was Mrs. Pettigrew's bedroom. Now the bedrooms are pretty straightforward here with the furniture. You will see doors in the rooms. They all go to walk-in closets, which was something rather new in homes at this time. Now, Mrs. Pettigrew's bedroom would probably be considered the master bedroom here for the home. She has access to the bathroom, and she also has her own fireplace in her room. Also in this room, we have the closet open so that you can see what the interior of the closets look like. This room would have been a third bedroom for the house. The senator probably used it for a lot of storage of his different artifacts. We use it to show off a few more things that belong to the senator. The desk in the corner is from his land office, which was located down on Phillips Avenue. The front of this desk actually swings shut. You can lock it and keep people out of your papers. One of the neat features is it has its own mail slot where you can drop letters into it, and then you can receive those through the little door on the front of the desk. Also, elk antlers on the wall from an elk he shot in Granite, Iowa, just across the border in Iowa. On the wall are two photographs of the senator's wives. The larger photograph is of his first wife, Bessie. They were married in 1879, had two sons, Franklin and Arthur. And when they moved into this home, Mrs. Pettigrew was in poor health. She did suffer from pernicious anemia. She couldn't absorb the vitamin B12. She was traveling around, meeting with many different doctors, going to many different sanitariums. However, she did pass away in 1916. The senator remarried in 1923 to Roberta Hollister Smith. She was from Chicago. The senator took her on a honeymoon and then brought her back here to Sioux Falls. She was at the home at the time of his death. She stayed in Sioux Falls long enough for the city to accept the gift of the home, and then she went back to Chicago and spent the rest of her life there. Well, let's head down this hallway. We're going to take a look at the bathroom. We're almost done with the tour. This home always had a bathroom. However, when the senator moved in, he wanted a bigger bathroom. Where the wall takes the corner by the toilet, you can see that's where the original wall came across. The senator removed that wall, pushed everything back, had steel I-beams put on the floor, and had all of these bathroom fixtures installed into the home. He was probably trying to make room for a very large tub, and you can see our tub here. The tub is unique. It sits all the way down on the floor. We're used to big clawfoot tubs from that time period. You turn the water on in the back. The water comes out of the nickel-plated spout in the tub, and then you just have to lift in the center and the water drains. We're transitioning out of the family side of the home again. We see the back staircase that servants would have used. It came up to the second floor and continued on up into the attic, where the maid had her own bedroom and her own bathroom here in the home. From here, we're going to transition into our last room in the house. We're not really sure how the senator used this room here in the home. It is outside of the family side of the home. You can see that he had to change the door frame when he pushed the wall back for the bathroom, and he pushed that wall all the way here to the edge of the window frame. In this room, we also see a wooden case. The case is full of stone tools, and this case belonged to his brother Fred. His brother Fred had his own museum in what was called the South Sioux Hotel. The brothers were very interested in the early native culture here on the prairie, and many of the things that they collected were stone tools. Most of these are found here on the northern plains. There's a few in this case from some other parts of the country, and even a few in there from some other parts of the world. The senator did a trade with a museum in Siberia. He was trying to find a correlation between stone tools being found in Siberia and here on the northern plains. Now this door would have gone out into the second story of the two-story porch that was on the back of the home. Today it opens into our gallery area. On the wall we see a picture of what the backyard of the home looked like before any of the additions were put on the home. If you look closely, you'll notice some cannonballs that were in the backyard at the time that the senator lived here. Today you'll see those in the gallery. We want to thank you for coming along on our virtual tour of the Pettigrew Home and Museum. We hope that you can visit us in person very soon. If you enjoyed what you've seen, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks so much for coming along with us today.